we are going to talk about money today. And basically, Anna submitted this question, and I'm really hoping she can hop on, but she did tell me that she was with a client, so maybe she can come on afterwards. But basically, her question was this. So her question is like, what do you do when acquaintances want discounts from you? Or like friends or family want discounts from you. So I love this topic because I struggled with this for so long. Let me share with you guys basically a story. Okay, so this was literally just several months ago. I was with a group of girlfriends, and we were all sitting there talking about like our lives and what's been going on. And so during this time, I was doing the second round of my content creator challenge, and I was basically telling them about like the program and kind of like what I'm doing for the next few months until the end of 2019. And they were like really excited, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, like I want to do it too. And they were like asking me all these questions about the program. And like immediately I just like had this like feeling in my stomach where I'm like, oh shit, like they're my friends. Like, does that mean that like I have to give them a discount? Like I kind of like immediately felt kind of bad. It was like this weird feeling. And when I kind of like processed it later, I realized it's because I grew up in I didn't have the best relationship with money growing up. Basically, like my parents are very traditional. For those of you guys that are Asian, like I'm not trying to stereotype Asians, but like I'm Asian, and I don't know what it is, but like I feel like there's certain cultural things about like Asians that are pretty well known, right? With every single Asian person out there, right? My parents were immigrants. They came from Hong Kong. My dad grew up in Watts. If you guys don't know what Watts is, it's like a very poor community. And so like growing up, like my dad like hated sales. I still remember this one time as like a sixth grader, like walking into like dinner, and my dad picked up the phone and right before he picked up the phone, he was like, how much do you want to bet it's a telemarketer? Like he hated salespeople. And I was like, I don't know. And so my dad picks up the phone, and he was just like, he does this thing, you guys, where he picks up the phone and he like waits. He waits until the other person says something, because he's just like so scared of telemarketers, or not that he's scared, but he just like hates them. And then he waits until like they say something like, hey, I'm from so-and-so company. And then he does this thing where he like jabs at the buttons, and there's like this noise. And so then like they basically end up like hanging up, and he doesn't have to deal with them. And then he'll like always hang up and turn to my brother and I and be like, so this is why you don't go into sales, right? And so that experience like haunted me forever, for like such a long time. And that's also why my first year of coaching, I would say like 6 months or so, I didn't land a single client, because literally I was just like wanted to help people, right? But I saw sales as such a bad thing, right? And so for those of you guys that are sitting here, oh yay, Anna's here. We're talking about your question. And so for those of you guys that are here, like scared of like giving discounts to people or like stuff like that, it comes from this fear of like wanting to like help people and thinking that like if I charge what it is that I really want to charge, that means I'm a bad person, right? So again, like this goes deep down, and I want to talk about this because most of you guys can agree with me, right? Like talking about money sometimes is very uncomfortable. For those of you guys that didn't grow up in the background, like didn't grow up with that kind of background, then maybe you guys don't understand that. But you can agree with me that a majority of us feel like uncomfortable. We're just like, oh my goodness, like they're my friends. Like I need to give them a good deal, right? But I want you guys to encourage you guys to flip it on its head. So while I was telling this to my friends about my program, and they wanted to basically like, they basically wanted to be a part of it, right? I was super vulnerable with them, okay? What I did was that I was like, you guys, I'm like freaking out right now because I want to give you guys a discount, but I kind of don't want to. Like, I don't want to give you guys a discount. And they kind of looked at me and they were just like, okay, why do you have to? It was just like, literally when they asked that question to me, I was like, you're right. Like, why do I have to, right? So these are like good friends. But what I'm saying is that they were like, Kristen, like, we want to support you. Like, we would pay you full price. And that moment hit me where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, why can't my friends support me in my business and pay the price that everyone else pays, right? Like, have you ever thought about that? where like good friends would value the work that you do and that you put out to the world. So they're not going to be asking you for discounts, right? And even if they are, it has nothing to do with you. It's just that their money mindset is like, okay, like how can I get the best deal, right? And that's a human thing. Like even when we're going out to like restaurants, there's like coupons and there's discounts, and we get really happy about that because we're like, oh my gosh, we're saving some money. But the ultimate decision like lies within you. Like you need to be firm and make that decision that like, hey, this is what I'm worth, or this is how much my program is worth, and that's that, right? And here's the thing, like if you drive people away, that's totally fine. They're not your ideal clients, and people that value you and your work are gonna pay the amount. Like, trust me, I've had clients that like have, said like, oh, I can't afford it. Okay. But then I'm just like, well, sorry, like this is what it is. Right. And I'm firm with that. And they come around, they're like, okay, well, I want to start with you. Right. So that's what I'm saying is that like, people can feel your energy. Literally, I talk about energy all the time. People can feel your energy. So if you're gonna be like wishy-washy, or if you have this like uncomfortable feeling inside of you, people can feel that, and they're just gonna be like, well, like why does she have this weird feeling? Why do I get this feeling from her? And so that's what it is. So to answer your question, Anna, which is like, what do you do when acquaintances want discounts from you? Let me just walk you through step by step. What I do now is, number one, I decide, right? First, like even before I meet with any friends, let's say I roll out a program, right? Or whatnot. The first thing I do is I like decide, okay, like, am I going to give out a discount? Because sometimes giving out discounts is fine. It really just depends on you, right? If you feel good about giving out discounts, or if you feel good about doing a sale, then do it, right? Because you feel good about it. But when it comes to like a point where you feel like I'm doing it because out of scarcity, number one, or you're doing it because you're just like, if I don't give it to them, then they're going to be mad at me, like out of guilt, then that's not good energy, right? And you don't want to do it in that space, right? So you have to make a decision. Number one is deciding whether or not like you want to give a discount to begin with. And number two, if you're coming from like a discount kind of like space, then it's more of like, okay, how is giving out this discount making me feel? Am I really giving this discount because I want people to like, I want more people to be a part of it, and like I'm giving away my services for a discounted rate because it's going to make me feel better, right? So it's really all about feeling and kind of understanding that, hey, this is what I'm worth, and if I decide to discount it, it's because of me and because I want to, and not because out of guilt or desperation or whatnot. Does that make sense? Let me kind of like go into the comments really quickly. So true. Yes, right? Because here's the thing is that like, I feel like as a business owner, things have just so reversed for me. I swear to you, growing up, it was always me wanting to get the best discount, getting the best service for the lowest price, right? And it was because I wasn't a business owner at the time. And so if you're dealing with people that don't have their own business, or they're not making sales, they're not on the same mindset as you. Does that make sense? So like you can't expect them to like understand what it's like as a business owner, right? Like when I was working my 9-to-5 job and I hated my job, all I could think about is like, how can I work the least and get the most money? Does that make sense? Like that, I know that sounds so horrible. So for any like, I don't know, like if I ever apply to a job in the future, like that sounds so bad, but I'm just being very real with you guys. Like that's how I felt like in the past when I hated my job, and I was just like, I'm just going to be here because this person is giving me money, and like, I'm just going to do the best I can. But like, I don't really want to be here. But now as a business owner, and I'm paying for example, my video editor, if she's like slacking, I'm just like, oh my goodness, like what am I paying you for, right? So it's like a change in perspective. And so I know we went off on a little bit of a tangent here, but does that make sense to you guys? Like you have to cultivate such a good money mindset in order, or just like switch the way you look at money, so that like it serves you, and that you understand that like it's you being worthy of these things and receiving all these things in order for you to feel good about money and money to come to you, right? Because money is really just energy, and what energy is like emotion, right? It's emotion, it's feeling, right? So anytime you have a good feeling, it's really just energy in motion. I want you guys to remember that. I'm actually gonna put that as a quote and like put it in my stories later on today. But your emotion, so your high emotion or your low emotion, is really just energy in motion. So if you're like happy and like excited, right? Like that's energy in motion. Whereas like if you're sad or if you're anxious, anxiety is kind of like stagnant energy, right? It's like frantic energy. And so you have to be very mindful of the energy that you're putting out there. Does that make sense?